gonna start these. About 10 and a half this time.
Ready when you are.
Good morning, everybody. I'll call the public safety meeting to order at 10:30 a.m. Becky, would you do roll call, please?
Sure. Mike Copine,
Here.
Keen Hudson,
Present.
Katie White, Angie Shippert. Here. Mike Pearson.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't see any non-member participants in the audience, so we'll move on from public attendees. Approval of the minutes. Did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes? Any corrections or additions to be made? If not, they'll stand approved as submitted. Animal control, do we have Terry here? Terry isn't, I don't see her. Circuit clerk.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just have a few quick things. I wanted to let you all know that we are wrapping up our court technology grant. We submitted the last of the invoices last week, so our final date is this Friday, and I will have everything to the courts by then. So it was a good group effort with everybody in the courthouse, and we got a lot of good things and some security cameras and case management systems, and just it's a very good grant, and hopefully we can get that next year, but just wanted to let you know that. And I also wanted to bring to your attention that we are also considering changing case management systems. We will soon be the only ones in the state of Illinois who have what we have. Winnebago County has them now, and they are going to switch. They recently asked me to come to a meeting to see what they want to do, and Shannon and I went up there the end of June, I believe it was, and they're putting together a whole case management team that consists of judges and state's attorneys and a whole big team. They have a CIO, a project manager. They're going to go to a technology conference in September. They want us to come. Judge Ackert said that Judge Klein and I could go, so we will be going to that. What happens is when the AOIC mandates us to make changes, it costs us every time. Last year alone, they added some new reports that we had to do, and that change alone cost us $130,000. And we split that with Winnebago County. So that's just one of them, and there's more to come. We're a little county. I want to do what's right financially for our county, but Winnebago, I don't think it'll hurt us going to their meetings. They're doing all the legwork. They're putting things together. Again, they're going to put together, they're going to solicit bids and put together the RFPs and go out. But again, we don't have to go with them. That's not the bottom line, but it's not going to hurt to go check this out and see what's out there. Because being the only one, it's not financially, we can't do it. So it could be a year, it could be 2 years. I don't know. We're just in the beginning processes of everything. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Any questions?
Yes, Amy, is there any projected cost at all? Do you have any idea what this thing will cost?
No, I can tell you 83 counties in the state have good ones. That's where we left. We left them back in 2015 because there's pros and cons to it. You know, obviously 83 counties have them, so there is something good, but the cons are they're not web-based. They're an IBM platform. They're not in the cloud. That's bad. JANO has 7 counties. We'll look into them. Tyler Technologies, they have 4 counties in the state. Journal has 2, maybe 4 coming up. I can tell you Tyler Technologies, when they went out for bid in 2015, I think they were $1.2 million. So we're going to check it out, see what's out there. Again, I'm not saying we're going with Winnebago. They're offering us to come to their meetings and see what it's all about and check out the technology. And I don't think that can hurt. On another note, they also, their state's attorney's office and public defender's office, they also have Carpel, which is what Charlie's office and Bob's office are getting too. So that may help as well, because you have integrations that you have to pay for in between all these different vendors. So that's a whole nother thing to consider, but I don't want to get on that, but I just wanted to give you guys the heads up.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thanks, Amy, appreciate it. Okay, we have nothing here for the judges, emergency management, Mr. Lally.
Good morning. Kind of been busy lately. Quite a few things going on. Supported the Petunia Festival with their event. Flew the drone for the race. Also flew the drone recently for the Sheriff's Department for a lost person. Assisted Freeport, City of Freeport with Teddy Baker Days this year. And the biggest thing is we're coordinating with FEMA and SBA. The EOC will be a business resource center where people affected by the storm of March 31st will be able to come in and get very low interest rate loans to recover from those storms. So if you have any other questions.
Any other questions for Mr. Lally? Okay, thanks, Kevin, appreciate it. Probation.
My information is a little bit similar to what you just heard from Amy, only we're a few more steps ahead than what she is. As you know, we have a new case management system that we've been working on for the last probably about year and a half now. We're ready to go forward with that. We have a data conversion that'll be taking place on Friday, all day Friday. That'll be taking all of our records from the system that we have now, transferring that into the new system. And then on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week, we will have all day training on that new system that we will have. A financial component to that, just to keep in mind, when Amy's looking for systems for the clerk's office and for the courts, it should be a little bit less because we branched out onto our own. So that cost for probation to be integrated to that will not be in there. So that's just something to keep in mind as well. We've got our system. We were fortunate enough to have a grant that came available through the Veterans Treatment Court, federal grant that we were able to utilize for some of that cost. And then also the state allowed for some reimbursement, which we just got $6,600 back from the state to help with that offset on the data conversion as well. Just as what Amy had said, when the state comes up with the ideas to put these different mandates and different ideas as far as data collection in place, there's always a cost that's incurred, and sometimes that is not taken into consideration. This time they did allow for some money to be returned back to us. So that's how that $6,600 came back to us, which will go back into our probation service fees account, which is what we used for that cost in the new case management system. But we're very anxious to get started with that next week. IT is going to be working with us. We're taking all of our desktops and putting them into a conference room for that training. That way they have that actual computer and everything right in front of them and they're ready to go with that. The only other thing that I have is the Dependent Children's Care Fund continues to increase. We've got a minor that is there for the last month. She's coming back for court today, and then we've got another one that's going. That line item is higher than what it has been in at least the last 10 years. I'm not quite sure where that's going to stop, but that's just something to keep on your radar for the Dependent Children's Care Fund. And as a reminder, that is a cost of detaining minors. So either as part of disposition, when they get sentenced to King County Juvenile Justice System to serve detention, or on the front end, once they're arrested, we make a determination if they go to detention. So that's how that bill accrues. Any questions on that?
Any questions for Stacy?
Mike, not a question, but just a comment. Stacy's been really good about keeping everybody informed about her line item that's now in the red, including the Finance Committee. And at this point in time, just based on where we're at in the budget for the year, we've asked her to just continue to keep an eye on it. And when we get towards the end of the year and we really have an idea of where everything is at, we'll probably be looking at making a budget adjustment for that line item. Well, not probably. We will be making a budget adjustment, Stacy. It's just a matter of how and where we draw that money from, and we'll be better positioned to make that decision when we get a little closer to the end of the year. In the meantime, I've just asked her to keep everybody informed so that when we get to that point, you all aren't surprised.
Okay, thank you, Wendy. Okay, I just want to make a, excuse me, a comment right now and thank the sheriff and thank Mr. Lally for a little issue that we had come up regarding some traffic safety situations for the 4-H Center. I don't know if anybody's heard anything, but I will state this at this point, between the sheriff and Mr. Lally and a couple of other people and surrounding agencies that have helped out to correct the issue, it's been taken care of. So we will now have something back in place to help monitor or slow the traffic down for our 4-H fair coming up the 27th. So if you hear any rumblings or anything, have any questions, rather than bother the sheriff or Kevin, if you want to give me a call, that's fine. Email me or call me, and if I can't get the answer, I'll bother them for you. Okay, with that said, Sheriff, you're up.
Good morning. Well, we just concluded the Petunia Festival and 4th of July holiday weekend. Happy to say we had no major issues on our end. We did have a situation that arose on Friday, June 30th, that we had to exhaust a lot of investigative man hours. Essentially what it was a suspicious missing person investigation. A female Uber driver that usually drives overnight. She was from Tinley Park, didn't come home. Her significant other had a tracking device, and her vehicle was found 400 yards into the entrance of a field. The interior contents of the vehicle were strewn about in the cornfield. We were definitely concerned that we possibly had a homicide. Kevin came out with the drone, and due to the field canopy wasn't so overwhelming, so we could actually fly the drone and see in between the rows and verify that there was not a body out there. We then coordinated, even Charlie came out and he had some concerns as well that we were delving into a homicide, but we coordinated investigation with Tinley Park PD. We checked with, Uber, we checked with her cell phone records. We checked with flock camera systems that a lot of suburban agencies have to see if we could track the vehicle. We weren't successful with that. But then lo and behold, on Wednesday, July 5th, at about 1:30 in the morning, an Illinois state trooper found her walking on I-39. And that's the same area where the vehicle was located in a cornfield over by Rochelle. Apparently she was suffering from a mental illness, but we had to do our due diligence and look into the matter. Thank goodness it was a successful resolution, but we were fearing the worst there for a couple days. So that being said, moving on, we have the county fair coming up. I have met with board members. There are some concerns about a couple of evening events, and they're requesting a police presence. Friday evening, the truck and tractor pull, as well as the rodeo on Saturday evening. They said some things have been getting somewhat out of hand, also with traffic, as well as with some of the individuals that are partaking in the nectar of the gods at these events. So we're going to assign some deputies to be down there as far as crowd control and traffic control. That's all I got.
Okay, any questions for the sheriff? Okay, thank you, Sheriff. Mr. Boonstra, State's Attorney's Office.
Thank you, sir. Like Clay was saying, it's been a pretty busy couple weeks, pretty busy month. We've actually been closing out cases pretty consistently over across the street at the courthouse. I think if you heard from the public defender's office, they'd tell you it's been probably record-breaking closing of cases, and we're getting some strong sentences with them as well. Obviously, we had some cases that were pending going back to about 2019. Still have some cases like that, and the reason for it is obviously we were in a shutdown for a little while. We were unable to get to trials, but we're now up and running. We've been able to do so, and some of those cases are being resolved right now with pretty good due diligence. There are several sex cases that we're able to get to, one of which was in the month of May. We had people in the state of Illinois versus Gonzalo Trevino that we were able to go through a trial and came to a good resolution on that one, and he has now been sentenced to the Illinois Department of Corrections. So we've had a couple cases, just to bring that one up as an example. We've had some strong DOC sentences over the last month and resolved approximately 30 felony cases over the last month, which has been pretty consistent over the last 6 months. We're still filing quite a bit, but we are staying up to speed with those, and we're doing a pretty good job across the street, and I'm pretty proud of the team we've put together over there and the attorneys that have been working on those cases.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Boonstra? Okay, thanks, Charlie, appreciate it. Report of abandoned property focus group. Well, we're still focused on the properties that we have had over the past. There is a little bit of action being taken on a couple of the properties. I'm not sure, Wendy, do you have any idea where we were at as far as the letter that went out to the owner of the old infirmary / nursing home?
Yep, that letter went out actually last week. So I have not heard any response back, but that doesn't surprise me since I just sent it last week.
Okay. I don't remember the exact wording in one of the resolutions that's going before or has been approved to be forwarded to the executive committee, but there's action that's going to be taken on what do I want to call it? The Gentlemen's Club at 251 and 30. They're in violation of guidelines that were sent to them. So there's going to be a little bit of action taken there too. It'll be brought to the executive committee for more discussion. If you are by, and this might be out of line if it is in the meeting, it isn't in the meeting minutes, I'm just going to comment on this. 52 and 30 or 251 and 30 had been posted uninhabitable. However, if in your travels you are past the facility, whatever direction you're going, if you look up between the buildings there and see a little red car there, would you just make a note of it and let me know? The posting has been removed from the buildings, and I'm relatively sure that the individual that owns that little red car is residing there X number of days during the week, and he's in violation of that. I have talked with Jennifer over at the health department as far as reposting that. I think he's been staying in the restaurant portion of it, which is a separate part of the complex, and it didn't get posted. So we're going to make sure that when it gets reposted, that all the buildings there are posted so that we can pick up on that. Okay, I'm going to just classify that under unfinished business. Does anybody else have anything under unfinished business?
Mike,
Yes.
I've just got one that's brought up in the budget process. I know this isn't exactly the place to talk about it. Did we set aside funds for the abandoned property?
We have not. There's still obviously time to do that. The place we're at right now in terms of the budget process is for the department heads to have their budgets submitted. Then we'll start the compilation of the department's budgets. And then we'll start stepping back and going, okay, based on what our trends are for revenue, where do we stand? And I think that'll be the time for that opportunity to talk about.
Okay, thank you.
Just to clarify, we do still have funding left from the ARPA dollars. And we have applied for some grants to replace some of the funding we spent on 4th Street and the Compton property. But off the top of my head, I believe we still have in the neighborhood of about 63 to 65,000 left from ARPA funds. However, I think everybody knows that the next one on our radar is the 251 and 30 property on the northeast corner. And should we get the authority to move forward from the courts on that one, we'll go through $63,000 pretty darn fast just with asbestos abatement. So the idea is to, again, seek a grant for that one. But nonetheless, Dean's point is that, you know, while we still have some money sitting there, given the properties we're looking at tackling next, that money's not going to get us through those other properties.
Okay, anybody have any other questions? Okay, if not, we'll move on to new business, Lee County Safety Manual Draft Review, and I'm going to turn that over to Wendy. She's been on top of that. It's probably rewritten portion of it a couple of times. So Wendy, it's yours.
All right, I'll start with just a little bit of an overview that I gave the earlier committee meeting, just for your information. In 2006, we joined CIRMA, Counties of Illinois Risk Management Agency. That is the agency that we currently get our property liability insurance from. And as a part of joining that pool of other county governments or local governments, one of the initiatives of the pool was to make sure that we all were being as safe as possible. So they requested that we implement a safety committee and a safety manual. So we've actually had a safety committee since 2008. In 2009, the very first safety manual was adopted. And then in 2014, we had a revision of that original safety manual. And then in 2016, CIRMA, the pool itself, had hired a HR consultant to review all of our employee handbooks and the safety manuals. So that employee or that HR consultant reviewed all of the above, including the safety manual, and gave us back a pretty significant change to what was our original safety manual. Unfortunately, since she gave that to us in 2016, there's been no action taken to actually adopt that. So recently, in the last few months, we've gotten a resurgence of the safety committee. Safety committee, by the way, consists by your board rules of Mike Copine as the chair of public safety, Mike Zeman, who is our board member, Mike Zeman, who is our member of the CIRMA or represents us with the CIRMA pool. And then department heads, Sheriff Whalen was recently elected as chair of the committee. Congrats to him. Kathy Ferguson Allen, Dave Anderson, Amy Johnson, Kevin Lally, Stacy Stewart, and then of course, Sheriff Whalen. Thank you to all of those members that serve on that committee. We do intend to meet, or the plan has always been to meet at least a couple times a year. But right now our push is to get the safety manual adopted. So what is on your agenda is, and what Becky emailed to you last week, is the proposed safety manual. Charlie has been asked to review that, and he and I haven't communicated or connected on that just yet. But if, assuming that everything looks okay from State's Attorney's Office, we'll be forwarding that to the board for approval this month. It is a pretty significant change from our original safety manual, again, as a part of that recommendation coming from the HR consultant. With that said, I will throw it out to if anyone has any questions. The manual, I believe, is in your packet here, and you had it emailed to you last week. Earlier, Keen was up and he noticed that something that was inconsistent from one section to another. So having extra sets of eyes on this really does matter, guys. I know not everybody has the time, but if you have the time, please give it at least a cursory overview. To the department heads in the room, excuse me, it's our intention, the safety committee's intention, that we have a department head meeting and kind of give a high-level overview of some of the responsibilities of the department heads. Obviously, the department heads play a key role in making sure that each department employees are trained and that we're conducting ourselves in a safe manner. So we're going to probably have an upcoming department head meeting once this manual is approved by the board, and we'll kind of go through and hit on all of the expectations and items that the department head is responsible for the manual. Any questions?
Any questions? Okay, thank you, Wendy. I appreciate it.
I am looking for actually a motion to move this to full board, again, pending state's attorney's review, if you are so inclined.
Okay. How do you want us to word that? Mike? Go ahead, Mike. Mike, you're
I think he's
muted.
making the motion.
You're muted. Unmute.
Motion to move.
Hey, you are here. Okay, motion by Mike, second. Oh, here's second.
second.
Seconded by Angie. Any discussion? Any questions for Wendy?
And just to be clear, that motion is to move the safety manual to the executive committee for inclusion on the county board agenda pending approval of the state's attorney's office.
Okay. If no discussion, those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same motion. Motion carried.
Hey, Mike, Charlie does have some totals for the fees if you want to.
Anything new on the unpaid fines or collection of fees, Charlie?
I can give you the totals over last month. Otherwise, there's really nothing else
Nothing
new.
new. Okay, all right, thank you.
And Mike, if I can still interrupt, I also wanted to introduce Jeff Hilden in the back of the room, Facilities Director. I forgot that earlier when I started. If anybody hasn't met Jeff yet, please be sure and introduce yourself to him and welcome him to Lee County.
He's learning early, Wendy. I saw him kind of sneak through the door.
Charlie, sorry, were you going to give those numbers? I wasn't clear if you were giving the numbers.
I
or if you
wasn't
were-
sure if you wanted them either. So.
Well, whatever you want to do. I didn't mean to interrupt, though.
Sure, let's get them out there. It looks like the total collections received as of June 30 was $3,489.12. That was for the month. The total for the year as of date is $38,953.53. And I think that'd be your totals.
Thank you.
Are we seeing or receiving any opposition to any of these by any chance, Charlie? And I'm just curious at that point, no further information, just
Opposition from the
having to
collections?
pay, the collection action.
No, not really, no. We have a little bit of ups and downs when it comes to the collection agency and getting them as aggressive as we want them to be. So we're working through that process. We've seen, some good months, some bad months, and then recently there have been a couple bad months. So we've been in contact with them to try to remedy that and kind of, again, get them back on board and getting a little more aggressive.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of Charlie on that information? That brings us down to the conclusion, and the final action is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Hudson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Ms. Shippert. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thanks, everybody.